All right, guys, a little bit about myself. For the guys that haven't listened to one of my webinars before, my name is Travis Huckaby. I'm a FLW Coastal Pro, avionics marine specialist. Here's some of my first aid credentials in the tournament fishing world. This year, I'm fishing the FLW Coastal Series again. Just got home a couple weeks ago from Lake Havasu, Arizona. Had a good finish there, finished in the top 30. Was good enough to scratch out a paycheck and some good points going into the second stop. So hoping to qualify for the championship and head back east to Guntersville this year. So looking forward to it. All right, guys. Like I said, we got a few sponsors to mention: Avionics, River to Sea, Phoenix Rods, Luz, Humminbird, Minn Kota, CNC Marine and Modesto, Mercury, Sims, Cal Coast Fishing, Eco Pro Tungsten. You know, guys, in this industry, without support like heavy hitters such as these sponsors, it makes it tough. So you gotta always spend your money where the money's being reinvested. You know, with these companies that push, it's always good to take a look at their product and help out the companies that help out our industry. All right, guys, let's get on with this deal. Tonight we're going to be talking about setups and swim baits that I like to throw during the pre-spawn. I'm going to give you guys a heads up right out of the gate. This webinar is sponsored by River to Sea and their notorious S waiver. So, guys, there's when I do these webinars, there's a range of guys that are weekend warriors to tournament anglers. Bear with me. I'm going to talk about the setups. I'm going to talk about how I modify them, how I retrieve them, what to do with some followers, and even how I modify them, guys. I'm going to let you know straightforward. I'm not going to hold nothing back from you guys. This is how I do it. This is how I do it to get more bites, and this is where I throw it. So I'm going to touch on some bases. Like I said, there's going to be some guys that throw big swim baits like the Huddlestons, but I'm going to kind of talk to the census of them that are looking to go out and build some confidence in a swim bait that gets bit. I mean, you might go out and throw a Huddleston and get 3 or 4 bites a day on a good day. Now, you can go out. I've been out before on the lake and caught 25 to 30 S waiver fish. It's a great confidence building bait, and the fish just eat it. So let's get into this here. All right, guys. This right here is a picture of the River to Sea 168 S waiver. Now, with this specific bait, it's a little bit heavier. I like to throw it on a Phoenix M1 7/8 heavy rod. The Phoenix 7/8 heavy rod, it sounds like a stout rod. It's probably about a 4 power. But with that rod, guys, it's got a good backbone, but a fast action tip, where when you're retrieving this bait and that fish gets it, you'll see the rod load up, and you can just lay into the fish. You don't have to drop the hammer. So you pretty much want a good rod with a parabolic bend to it, and let the rod do the work. Because, you know, it's one of those deals, these S waivers, they have treble hooks on them. And it's mind-blowing on how many times, if you're out with a crankbait or any bait with treble hooks, those fish have a tendency to pull off. So using the rod that has a backbone, letting the rod absorb the work, it's definitely a huge key to landing more fish. You got a stouter rod, you lay into these fish, you'll pull those hooks right out of their mouth. So with that being said, I couple my Phoenix rods with a Luz Tournament MB reel in about a 6:4 to 1 ratio. I do that, guys. 6:4 to 1 ratio is kind of in the middle. It's not a rocket, not a 7 to 1. It's not a 5 to 1, but it's right in the middle where you don't have to creep the bait when you're trying to slow roll it. And then it's got enough speed to pick up if that fish hits and comes at you. So then you could crank on him and get him coming to the boat, and you can catch up to him if he runs towards the boat. So I believe in a 6:4 to 1 reel when I'm throwing the S waiver, just for the fact of the matter of you don't have to really creep. You can actually fish the reel at a decent pace. And then also, like I said, catch up to him if he hits and comes at the boat. With this specific bait, guys, there's in clear water and spotted bass lakes, I like to throw it on 12 to 15 pound fluorocarbon. The main deal you got to watch out with this bait, guys, is if you try to throw it far, sometimes it'll tumble. And now fluorocarbon, and you get that bait tumbling sometimes, you'll want to retie quite often, because whenever that bait gets to tumbling, it just abuses that knot that's on the line tie. So you might get 15 to 20 casts with it, and all of a sudden it just snaps off, especially with 12-pound test. So with 12-pound test, I retie frequently. With 15-pound tests, I'll probably make 25, 30 casts and retie. But like I say, guys, with the fluorocarbon, the line tie, you got to stay on top of it. Now, when you switch over to like 15-pound big game or 15-pound mono, you don't have to worry as much on the retying unless you're throwing it around wood or something that's abrasive. But that's a whole different story. The mono will take the shock of the tumble and stuff like that. So I don't really worry as much, but I do retie sporadically throughout the day with the mono. And like I said, with a little bit of stained water or places per se that's got bigger largemouth instead of spots, something like that, I tend to go a little bit heavier line just to make sure that don't get your heart broke, And also, guys, whenever selecting your S waiver, always match the hatch. River to Sea has some great colors out there. Like this is powder. It's white with a little bit of a blue tint to it. There's kokanee. There's many awesome colors that match the hatch for like perch or light trout. Any of those main key, pretty much colors that these fish eat. Bluegill pattern, stuff like that. I pretty much keep it simple, guys. I like a light trout here in California on these motherlode lakes and stuff like that is stocked with trout. And even, for instance, if you got hitch in your lake, even that light trout, those fish up at like, say, Clear Lake is notorious. It's got a lot of hitch in it. They have a goldish color, so that light yellow and that light trout really is a good go-to there also. All right, guys, and also they even have a black one that's all black for extreme dirty water that I like to throw on the Delta. Whenever we got inflowing water that's got the water really murky, I'll even throw a black one with a red tail, something like that, to give them a different look and give them something they can see. So just keep that in mind, guys. You want to match the hatch and then pay attention to the water clarity. That will definitely really help you key in on your colors. All right, guys, next is the S Waiver 200. This one here, guys, is kind of pulling out the stops. Whenever you want to go out and catch fish, that 168, it'll catch 1.5 pound fish up to, be honest with you, I caught my personal best on the 168 S Waiver, and it was 1383. And believe me, he clobbered that thing. So that 168 will get you bit from all ranges of fish. Now, stepping up to its bigger brother, the S Waiver 200, this bait is a pretty heavy bait, definitely a bigger profile, bigger all the way around. So with this bait, I tend to step up my setup. I throw it on a Phoenix Recon 796 rod. When I'm throwing this bait, I like to throw it on a wide spool reel. It really helps get the bait out there and slows it down where it's a lot easier to cast, because it's spooled, the line spools off the wide spool a lot easier than spooling back and forth so fast on a small spool reel. And also, guys, like I said, that 6/4 to 1 reel, keep it slow and steady, and have enough ratio to pick up on those fish whenever they eat the bait. Also, guys, this bait right here, I step up a little bit, 15-pound fluoro when I want to go on the light side, 17-pound fluoro on average. Like I said, retie is critical, especially on the 15-pound fluoro on it. You don't want to snap these things off. They're, a little bit, they're priced-wise, they're cheaper than a lot of the other swim baits out there, but still, 18 to 25 bucks a piece. You don't want to be snapping too many of those off. So also, guys, the difference between fluorocarbon and monofilament, if you want to get the bait to track a little deeper in the water column, you can get the bait down a little deeper with the fluorocarbon. The fluorocarbon sinks compared to the monofilament, and monofilament's more buoyant. So you can get that thing down an extra foot or two, getting the rod tip down and using that fluorocarbon. You'll get that bait down the water column a little deeper than you would with monofilament. All right, guys, like I said here, this is another one of those things. Match the hatch is the huge key to it. So you can see this color pattern here. This is called the Warden. This has been an awesome bait for me in the California Delta and also at Clear Lake. Anywhere where those big largemouths are, they love to eat that thing. So it's kind of got like a chartreuse pattern to it, like a chartreuse shad, and just awesome in a little bit of off-colored water also. All right, guys, move on to the next. We'll get into the good stuff. This kind of separates a little bit of the men from the boys, a little bit of the secrets on how to get the bait to do, to make it a little different than every S waiver that goes by. This is something I played with, guys. The picture on the left-hand side is a picture of the original. This is a 168 S waiver, right out of the box. Now, what I'm trying to show here is with this, you can see the main head of the bait that I'm holding in my hand, where the jointed connection, or the jointed section segments meet. What I do is I take a file and I file that connection where that tail meets the main body down. I'd say almost a little more than 1/8 of an inch. And as you can see, guys, this is the one on the right is the light trout, the yellowish version. Now on that, you can see the tail is laid over at a better, at more of an abrupt angle than the one on the left-hand side. So with that being said, doing that modification and filing that down to get the movement out of the tail, that allows the bait to do a wider glide. So without having that tail filed, it has a tight glide. Filing it makes it go wider. So that really helps, guys, getting a little more action out of the bait, giving those fish a little something something different, that's a popular bait. A lot of guys throw it. So you can hit a bank that a guy's went down it. You have yours, it's filed and ready to go. You got that thing coming through and it's doing a big S compared to this little real tight, tight S motion. So, and also a good thing about it is, guys, is you can get it. I'm going to get into retrieve next here, but you start retrieving it. I like a real slow retrieve, just getting it gliding. And I'll do about 3 cranks and then one, like speed up half a crank and let it just glide. So it'll be going along and then just kind of glide off one way or the other. And that's a good key, guys, to getting those followers to bite. And like I said, we're going to get into the retrieves here in a minute. So main modifications to these S waivers, I file the main body. And then also, guys, I change out the treble hooks to an owner, the 2X strong, the 2X hooks, and to make them 2 times as strong. They call them the 2X hook. So those are the two main deals that I do with the S waiver, guys. I'll fluorocarbon to get it a little deeper. Change the hooks out to 2 times strong, so you don't have that fish straight in your hooks, and then also file them so you get a little more range of motion out of the glide of the bait. I see I'm getting a few questions here lined up, guys. I'll get with you guys after we get through the webinar here, and at the end I'll do a questions and answers. All right, guys, that's my pride and joy right there. That's my personal best. That's 1383 out of Lake Don Pedro. I caught on the 168 S waiver. All right, guys, and on this, we're going to talk about the retrieves. Like I kind of dipped into the last page. Like I said, one of my favorites is just slow and steady, just a real slow, kind of rhythmic glide to the bait. Just keeping the rod. I keep the rod tip down and just keep it coming real slow. And like I said, if I start getting some followers on it, I go about 2 or 3 cranks slow, and you can kind of watch the bait and the line dive back and forth. And then I'll speed up one and stop it and drop the rod tip where it slacks the line a little bit and let it veer off. And a lot of time, guys, those fish will hit it when it tries to do that veer because they think it's getting away from them. The bait's trying to make a move to flee, and they eat it. So kind of touch base on the slow and steady and then the slow and sporadic. Now, guys, another one. I kind of got mind blown a couple of years back. I was up on the lake and I hit this one rock pile, and it was about 14 feet deep, 15 feet deep, and I made a long cast across it with the S waiver, and I brought it across there just slow and steady, and I had a wolf pack of about five fish come up behind that thing, and it was about 5 to 7 pounders. I was like, whoa, that's some serious fish here. So I just couldn't get them to eat. I made 3 casts, and every cast they would follow that bait to the boat. So I started playing with it a little bit. I made a long cast, bringing it in slow, kind of judging where the rock pile was. I just stopped it and let it just stop. And then I twitched it. And oh my gosh, I about got the rod ripped out of my hand. That fish just piled it. And I laid back on this fish, got him in the boat, and it was a 7-pounder. I was like, oh my goodness, he definitely liked that just dead stick to just a sharp twitch, and that fish jumped all over it. So that day, I ended up catching about 13 of those fish. And it was funny because before I started doing that, I had a slow day. It got a little front come in. It was a little colder. Those fish they were following, but they just weren't eating. But that dead stick to a twitch, it was almost like a rip bait. Just dead stick, give it a sharp twitch, and that thing veered, they would eat that. So I turned a bad day into a good day by just changing my cadence up, changing my retrieve. Those fish didn't want that bait moving. They wanted it paused, or as soon as you hit that thing, just give it a fast sporadic twitch, just whack it like a rip bait. They would jump all over it. So ended up having about 27 pounds that day for 5 on a local lake up here. And it was like, wow, okay, we figured something out. And I had another buddy up there the same day. He's like, man, that S waiver bite was on fire last week, and we couldn't get one to buy a bite. So ended up kind of chuckled about it, and it was one of those things. I told him later that evening. I said, "Yeah, missed it. Those fish would eat. You just had to slow it down a notch for them." So, like I said, guys, the fish will tell you what they want. Just keep an open mind when throwing these baits. Don't get stuck in a rut. There's a lot of changes. With the fronts, temperatures, all that good stuff, and just kind of let the fish tell you each day of what they want. Try the slow and steady. You start getting followers, but they're not eating it. Give it a sporadic. Still don't do it. Slow it down, just like I said. So make sure you make long casts with it. Bring it up. Dead stick it, twitch it. Real once or twice, real slow. Dead stick it, and then twitch it. Just play with them. Let them tell you what they want. So that's my three key retrieves there is slow and steady, or steady with the sporadic, and then also, like I said, when fronts come about, stuff like that, just dead stick to a twitch, dead stick, twitch, pretty much throw that bait like a rip bait. It looks funky, but I'll tell you guys, it's effective. All right, guys, also, long casts, like I said, equals retying, because you're going to try to, send that bait out there far. It's one of those deals you're going to want to retie, because, like I said, I don't know what it is. You'll get a dozen good casts, and then you'll get one that you're trying to put your shoulder into, and that thing just tumbles. And like I said, don't want to snap it off, but keep retying them, and the long casts really help out. I found a situation on a lake last year where I had this stretch of bank that these fish were pushing up on in pre-spawn, getting ready to try to move up on the flat. And man, I had some amazing followers. And it was like they were coming up from deep water. There was a flat, and it was in about 10 feet deep, and then it dropped off to like 27. And I was finding that the fish were drawing up off the ledge, where they were just coming right up under the bait about 5 feet from the boat. And what I was doing was I had the boat too close to the ledge. So what I ended up doing was backing the boat out about another 50 feet, making a long cast, and that was the ticket. I was making that long cast, backed the boat off that ledge, those fish were coming up and they were eating the bait then. It was like we just had the boat too much, too close, per se on top of them. So it was one of those deals, guys, making that cast, keeping the boat off, and pay attention to your followers. If you can see them come up, if you're throwing it in shallow water, you'll see them track the bait, halfway back to the boat. But if you notice that they're just coming up to the bait, close to the boat, back the boat out even further, because these swim baits, guys, they have drawing power. Those fish might be on a long tapering point, suspended in like 15, 18 foot, and they see that bait coming overhead and it gets their attention, they come up on it. So if they're staying out in that depth, make sure you bring the boat back out, because you want to give them a little time to track that bait. So just like I said, guys, it's paying attention to the detail, what retrieve the fish want, and also where the fish is coming from whenever they're following the bait. All right, guys, I'm going to move on to another bait that I throw. We talked about the S waiver. That's my go-to. Here's another bait that I throw. This is the soft plastics, like a line through, guys. This has been an awesome bait for me everywhere I've went. This thing's just caught fish left and right. I mean, if I'm at the California Delta, on a clear water lake, no matter where, it seems to just get eaten. This bait right here, guys, that I got tied up, it's a 5-inch swim bait. You can get them in 5 or 7 or even 10-inch versions. This bait here, guys, I've done some modifications to. I actually buy them where there's no weight inside them. They're just a solid plastic chunk, solid plastic body. I take an ice pick, and as you can see there, guys, the line goes through the nose and comes up on the back. I actually take an ice pick, plunge it into the body and up in the back where I want the hook at, and then I'll take and cut up like a coffee straw and use that as my line through. That keeps the longevity of the bait so the line doesn't rip through the plastic body of the bait. So that gets you a lot more fish. It's nice. These fish hits, you hook them, that bait usually slides up the line, and you can catch a few fish each bait, so saves you some money. And also, guys, with these baits here, I use a nail weight to weight them, to get them down in the water column. If I'm fishing grass, it's perfect with that top hook. I can bring it just ticking the top across the grass, or if I'm throwing it over brush piles, trees, anything like that, it's a perfect bait. With that top hook, it keeps itself pretty weedless. And on this, guys, I also throw it on the Phoenix M1 7/8 heavy rod with the Lew's Tournament MB reel. This one I throw on a 6/8 to 1. I speed it up a little bit on my reel on this one because a lot of times, guys, these fish will pile this bait. They hit this thing hard and come at you where it'll knock slack on the line. So you want to be able to reel down and keep up with that fish and get that fish in the boat. So I try to speed up the ratios on my reels for this one. Also, guys, this bait here, I throw in fluorocarbon. 15-pound fluoro. Anywhere I go, pretty much is basic. If I downsize the bait, like I said, they make them in 3, 5, 7, and 10s. You can go to a 3-inch line through. I'll throw it on 12-pound fluoro for spotted bass. It is just a fish catching machine, guys. So go on to the next. Here's a little something else, guys. This is, like I said, the fine tuning, getting a bait that gets bit, This here is a picture of 2 swim baits. These are both 5-inch swim baits. And I just wanted to show you guys, not all swim bait is the same plastic or the same make, These 2 are the same mold, but a different style of plastic. So as you can tell right now, the bait on the left, guys, you can see the tail. It's off at a little bit of an angle, but it's nothing in comparison to the bait on the right. It's laid all the way over. That, guys, right there will tell me that you could slow that bait on your right, you could slow roll it, and you're going to get a good thumping tail action out of it. The one on the left, it's going to have a tighter tail action. I like the one with the most tail action because the main thing is you want the water movement. So slow rolling a bait that has all that action, all that range of motion in the tail, you could slow it down and still get a good kick out of it. You slow roll the one on the left, and you're not going to have much kick at all. So when selecting a soft plastic line through style swim bait, here's one of the main tattletales and a way that you'll get more bites. Selecting one with the greater range of motion. And like I said on here, guys, I do my own line through. I always go to the top. It keeps it a lot more weedless. And also, I'll either add one nail weight in the body or even two side to side to keep it where it swims at an even keel over the top of the grass or in anything per se. If you run two of the nail weights in it, you can get that thing down, swim at 5 to 10 feet deep, and you can burn that bait with two nail weights in it, and it doesn't roll. It'll keep coming at a good plane. So nail weights, good range of motion, soft plastic. Like I said, use the line through style with a coffee straw is a great way to catch a lot of fish from one bait. And like I said, that's just the keys, because there's so many swim baits out there on the market that finding one with a good tail kick is key to getting more bites. All right, guys, we're going to get into the main action here of where and when to throw these swim baits during pre-spawn. One of the main things, guys, that I look for and watch is the water temperature. Water temperature plays a big role on getting these fish to eat. So with the water temperature, I always want 54 degrees plus. It just seems like over here, I'm out here in California. I know I got a lot of guys out from all around the United States. So I know some of you guys' lakes are even iced over at the moment. So I want to drop some knowledge on it, guys, as water temp, because I can't tell you, yeah, go out tomorrow, throw this thing, you'll get bit. It may not work, especially if your lake's iced over. So main thing, guys, 54 degrees plus. It's one of those deals. I started throwing this bait about 3 weeks, these baits about 3 weeks ago out here. Water temp just hit 54. I got some followers. I got a few coming up out of deeper water. They were showing themselves. So it was one of those things that I know that they were out deeper and coming off some main lake points. So I knew they weren't into the pre-spawn mode, pushing up yet, moving into the creek channels and good stuff like that. They were still out on the main lakes and on some of these offshore structures. So getting into that, guys, with the water temp out here is hit about 58 now, and the bite's been warming up real quick. These fish have been eating the waiver, and it's been one of those deals that it's amazing how finicky these fish can get with a couple degrees. But it could go to 3 followers in a day to coming out later in the afternoon, 2 days later, and the water moved up 3 to 4 degrees, and all of a sudden they're choking the bait, and you catch 18 of them. So it's one of those deals, guys. Water temp is going to be your best friend, paying attention to it. As far as what you got here, guys, this is my Navionics mobile app. This is off my cell phone. Took some pictures of some of the stuff that I really like to key in on. This time of the year being pre-spawn, like I said, watching the water temps, these fish are going to start moving up into these creek channels and coves. Right here, the picture on the left-hand side, this is one of my favorites, guys. You got a flat right here on the left picture, on the right-hand portion where it says island and has like a white buoy marker. That right there, guys, that's something those fish will push up on when it comes time to spawn. This blue icon out here, the pin, those fish right now at pre-spawn, they're going to push up on these main lake points at the mouths of these spawning coves and hang out here until the water temp gets right to make them move back. So these main lake points, guys, is a great target, especially at the mouth of the coves and the creek channels that these fish are going to push back into to do their spawn business in about a month or two, and that water temp gets in the low 60s, mid to low 60s. Also, guys, I'm a huge fan. You got these 2 red hazard buoys. These are islands out here that are marked, and you got a big island out here in the center. And now, I call this a spot within a spot, guys. You got this island top out here. This island top's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'd say about 6 points to it. So that's 6 different specific spots within a spots, I'd call it, for those fish to move up on and stage. You know, they can hang out here. They'll come up into here, hang out on this spot, hang out on that point, come to this back point, come off this flat, sit in the saddle here between these 2 islands, move that island before they move back in here and do their spawn. So this area here has a lot of key ingredients, guys, on this left view for those fish to move up on and do their thing, you know, get ready to make the move. They're going to come off that deeper water in the main lake and make that transition to the back of the coves and the back of the creeks. And these are just stopping points, like resting stops on the freeway. So using your guys' mapping, guys, like the Navionics mobile app, Navionics mapping cards, you know, the Hot Maps Platinum, the regions, these things are huge factors, guys. We wouldn't know, you know, unless you were idling around with your depth finder on, you wouldn't know these islands are out there. And you would have to crisscross and do all that good stuff to try to figure out where the points of the islands were and how the islands are laid out. Now with your Navionics mobile app or your Navionics mapping cards, they have it all mapped out for you. So it makes it easy. You can drop away points at your hotel on a mobile app or at home the night before a fishing trip, hit the water, and you already have a game plan. You know these fish, it's pre-spawn. They're making the move from the mouth of the coves, mouth of the creek channels to the secondary points. They're working their way into the coves and the flats. So finding the deep water ledges, you know, on per se this island here on the left-hand side, you got the red warning buoy here, hazard buoy. You see where the lines get dark? That means there's an abrupt change there, guys. There's a break there. The closer the lines are together is how you read a drastic contour change. Now, per se right here on the right-hand side of the left view, those contour lines are spaced out. Those there, guys, that means it's a gradual tapering bank. There's not much of a depth change there. But when you get these areas they get dark, all the lines are stacked on top of each other, that means it's a drastic changing bank. It's a ledge. So that, guys, is a key feature. You get a flat with a ledge next to it, that's kind of a no-brainer, guys. Those fish are going to stage on that ledge and wait till the water temp's right, and they're going to move up onto that flat and do their spawning business. So another thing about fishing this type of stuff, guys, with these swim baits is a lot of times, guys, with the water being cold right now, 54, 58, you know, these fish are eating that swim bait. A lot of the times, like I said, these fish aren't up on the flat yet. So a lot of the times, guys, you know, if you got your Navionics going and you find a flat with a break to it, I like to put the boat up on the flat. I like to get the boat up shallow. I use my Minn Kota talons. I drop my talons. I like to be kind of as stealthy as I can. And I'll throw that bait out past the ledge where I'm throwing it out to deep water, and then I'm bringing that bait slowly up onto the flat. This also, guys, is a huge key to getting more bites because a lot of those fish will sit on that ledge. And like I said, that swim bait attracts them, gets them looking up. They see it, here they come. They're coming up to take a look at it. Now, if you have the boat sitting out in the lake, you're retrieving that bait, that fish is going to have to, he knows, he's like, okay, I'm tracking this fish. This thing's got the whole lake to swim off in. He can go deep, he can go shallow, he can run for days. Now, if you got that boat up in shallow water, you're being stealthy, you make that long cast, you're bringing that thing, he's coming up and he's knowing, oh, look at that bait coming across, he's going onto the flat. Now that bass will get up behind it and he knows he's going to pin that bait. That bait is headed shallow. So he knows he's going to corral that bait between it and the bank, and it doesn't have as much room to run. So a lot of times, guys, putting that boat shallow and making that cast deep and bringing it into shallow water gives the bass kind of a more aggressive approach to it because he thinks he's going to corral that bait right into the bank where it doesn't have nowhere to run. Instead of if you're throwing it shallow and working it deep, it's got the whole lake to run off to. He knows he's got to have to chase it down. Now, throwing it up deep and bringing it shallow, he's going to corral it And I mean, I've had fish eat these baits, guys. The S waiver about 3 feet from the boat. It was awesome. I had the boat up. I had my talons down. I made a long cast. I actually had the boat talon down on this submerged island top. The island top was in about 11 feet of water, and my 12-foot talons came in. It was just perfect height. I was able to put them down, and it was able to hold me there. And I was throwing that S waiver off the ledge, bringing it up. I had an 11-pounder eat it about 3 feet from the boat. Only thing I could do was spool it. I clicked the bill, let that fish spool into the boat, brought him back around, was able to load him because I knew no way on earth if I would have just set the hook in him at 3 feet from the boat, that fish would have snapped me off in a hurry trying to make a run back off the ledge or dove under the boat. He would have owned me. So all I could do at that point, guys, was click the bell, let him take some line, put him in the boat a couple minutes later. So, but it was awesome. He come up, he's seen everything. He ate that thing right at the boat, looking at the boat like he was going to pin that trout between the boat and me, the boat and him, and he took a shot at it and ate it. So I like I said, guys, throwing these things, keep bringing them shallow, gives those fish a feeling of corralling the bait. And that works, like I said, anywhere from secondary points, guys. Here on the right-hand view, this is an awesome, awesome area. It was one of those deals. This is a picture from a lake that I was fishing. I actually caught fish on majority of the structure here. This out here, guys, this right-hand view, you see it has a 41-foot deep mark and then 56, that island top out there. It had a roadbed cut away in it. The water was down about 16 feet, so that 41 feet wasn't quite 41. It was in the 20s, and I had the boat positioned up on it, and I was throwing the swim baits over that roadbed, and I had some fish staged in there, and they were coming up and eating a swim bait off of it. It was awesome. Then also, guys, say the same thing. I was able to work my way in. I caught them on the main lake hump out there next to the roadbed. I came in. I caught them on a drop shot and a jig off that island top. It was pretty shallow. I come up into here, right here into the mouth. I love getting in areas like this, guys. It's got a few different little cuts here, and a lot of them are got like little feeder creeks in the back. That is just a perfect spawning area for these fish to get up in. You can see the tapering. You see the contours where it's a tapering bank. So on something like that, guys, I like to have what I call a high percentage area. It's not just one structure in an area that I think is going to hold fish. This here has got a lot of key features. You got islands, you got a roadbed, you got submerged humps, you got points between two creek channels, which is huge, a huge location to catch fish. You even out here have some right here by 26, 38, and 41 foot mark. You got a tapering point that comes out. That stuff right there, guys, is all pre-spawn staging areas for these bass. And like I said, you put that S waiver in front of them, right water temp, good boat positioning, you're going to catch some good fish. Also, guys, on here, only other thing, like I said, this right here is kind of like my smorgasbord. When I'm looking for a place to catch fish, this is a high percentage area because the ingredients right here is amazing. Like I said, you got the humps, points, secondary points, creek channels with flats. Everything there is what you need this time of the year to catch fish. Only thing else that I really key on, guys, I've seen some crazy stuff where these fish out here will actually spawn in the trees. So if you've got a tree sitting out in like 40 feet of water, I've seen it before. I actually caught about a 9-pounder on Lake Don Pedro last year. Yeah, I believe it was last year. I was going along, and I was on the trolling motor, and I was fishing a main lake point, and there was a little pocket to a secondary point, and I turned my trolling motor on high and was cruising along, and I looked down, and I could see this tree in the water. Next thing I know, I see these two fish suspended out there. Man, so I kind of took a left, jogged away from the tree, spun the boat around, stayed off it, and made a long cast, and it was crazy. First cast, I caught one about 5 pounds, and it was one of the fish that was suspended in that tree. And I put her in the boat, and I'm like, man, that's a good fish. So I'm sitting there, and I make another cast. So sure enough, I see this fish come up and go back down. I come up and look at the bait and dart at it and go back. So I retrieve the thing, make a long cast. get it right over about the top of the tree, and I just paused it. And it was awesome. I paused that bait, and I watched my line jump, almost like a jig bite. This thing smacked it. And I set the hook as a 9-pounder. And I get this fish to the boat, and this fish, her belly, she was full loaded with eggs, just a beautiful 9-pound largemouth. I was sitting there, and I was like, man. So I'm holding this 5 and this 9 up. The male, it was a male, 5-pound male with a 9-pound female. I'm like, that's amazing. We're in 44 feet of water out here, and they're just suspended in this tree. So I get on the trolling motor, and I go over to the tree, kind of metering around it, thinking about, maybe I'll drop a drop shot down, try and catch a fish or two more out of it. I grab it, and there was nothing left. And I was looking, and it was weird. Right off the base of the tree, there was about an 8-inch round branch that come off. And sure enough, it was weird. You could actually see the spot on the limb that they had dusted off. They actually were spawning on that. They were actually doing their spawning business out there on that big tree branch in 44 feet of water. So this time of the year, guys, those fish will suspend in those trees and actually do their business in the trees. So on something like that, that S waiver is also a great way to catch those fish suspended in the trees. And like I said, doing their business in the trees, guys. So never pass a tree up. Always make a couple casts of that S waiver at a tree out there submerged, no matter how deep it is. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to the next thing. And talking about these contours and everything, guys, just want to touch base with you. You got a spot within a spot, you know what I'm talking about, and a high percentage area. Always stack the odds in your favor. When you find an area, make sure you got a few things going on it. Not just, oh, here's a good point over here. You know, you can always run across the main lake point, fish it, but you know, every fisherman on the lake is going to run up and hit a point, something like that. Do a little investigating. Use your electronics. I love going out there and using my Humminbird side imaging, guys. Like I say, here's a picture on the left-hand side. I'm out here. This was a clear lake. Looking around, I had this submerged point out offshore, and I turned my side imaging on, looking around. I found this little rock pile. Well, that one rock pile there ended up being a huge key to a top 10 finish in the FLW. I ended up both days catching a fish over 4.5 pounds on a jig on that rock pile. So it was one of those things. I located a cool submerged point, but then I dug a little deeper and found a spot within a spot, found that little rock pile on it. And that's the sweet spot. That held good fish all 3 days in the tournament. And it was one of those deals that if you'd have just flown up on it, you know, seen the point as you see here on the Navionics card, it wouldn't show you that rock pile. You'd have to find it with your side imaging. So you just run up, make a few casts. If you stumbled across it, you never would have known it was there. But using your electronics, guys, put you way ahead of the pack. So like I said, keying in with that side imaging, let me find that sweet spot within that one point that everyone would have just kind of ran over. Also, guys, this picture on the right-hand side here is another awesome picture. This was from a couple weeks back in Arizona on Lake Havasu. I was out there and I was fishing. There's a creek channel coming in, had a big submerged point, and it just had a big tapering flat off of it. I got out there, guys, and it was pretty much, those desert lakes are real bare. They actually have to put man-made habitat for the fish to group up around. And sure enough, I got out there running my side imaging and my down scan, and I ended up finding some man-made cages. And boy, I'll tell you, those fish, they liked it whenever you pulled the A-rig across it. Those fish were hitting it pretty good. So once again, guys, use your electronics to your advantage. When you got an area, you know it's got some key ingredients on it, turn your side imaging on, get to work. Find some of the stuff that is kind of the needle in the haystack. That's the thing that'll really separate you from all the other fishermen that are just running, you know, hitting points or something that's visual. Use your Navionics mapping card and your side imaging to your advantage, and it'll definitely help you put more fish in the boat. Also, guys, another key feature I really like that I use tons out here nowadays, especially throwing swim baits when I want to keep the boat in position, is my Minn Kota Ultrex with spot lock. It is a game changer, guys. It's the real deal. This is a picture from 2 to 3 weeks ago up in I think it's the Columbia River up in the north end of Lake Havasu. The water in there was moving, and that spot lock, guys, would keep me right on spot. It was awesome. Out there in the current, spent almost all day in the current, and it did an amazing job. I could hit spot lock in the current like that and fish that eddy, catching smallmouth all day long. It was awesome. So having that spot lock is a great advantage point, guys. You can get out there on the lakes fishing those submerged island tops or submerge all those underwater points, stuff like that, and click your spot lock. You can catch fish and don't even have to come off the trolling motor. It'll keep the boat in position, and you don't have to, when you're out there fishing on a submerged hump and you catch a fish, you're fighting it, you come off the trolling motor. Next thing you know, you're like, okay, where was that hump again? You're out there, you're trying to trolling motor over, you're watching your depth finder, trying to find the hump. With that spot lock, guys, you can find it one time, set spot lock, and fish that hump thoroughly. So I know it's might be a little bit a little bit pricey for a lot of your weekend warriors price range, but hey, guys, it's definitely something that is really key to catching more fish and a lot more success on the water. It's an awesome deal. All right, guys, touch base real quick, just kind of giving you something here. The theory with the swim baits. A lot of guys will, you always hear the old phrase, "I'm going to swing for the fence." Guys, this is it's one of those things. It's an all or nothing type of deal. You can get out there and you can be a hero and catch 20, 25 pounds on a swim bait. And then there's days, guys, where you get out there and all you can get 2 or 3 followers and they just don't eat it. And if you're a tournament fisherman, a lot of guys will go out there and put it all on the line, chuck a swim bait all day, and come in. You're either zero or a hero, per se. It's one of those deals where when the tournament clock's ticking, you need to come in with 5 fish. If you're in the points race, anything like that, guys, you got to adjust with the conditions. And a huge key player to putting the limit in the boat, guys, is smaller swim baits these days. I got 2 techniques that I use a lot, and it's been really a really awesome 1-2 punch. I've been able to put a limit in the boat, and then the rest of the day key on a big bite with one of those swim baits. But like I said, whenever conditions change, you have to change. You cannot sink with the boat. It's one of those deals. A lot of guys will just ride it down till it's done. And you got to adjust, guys. When they get a little finicky and they don't want to eat that big bait, they're still there. They're just not wanting to move much and not wanting to key on that big bite. So sometimes you got to finesse them. So I always call it, I got to downsize to save the day. Here's a drop shot rig I throw with a little 2.8 style slim swim bait. That's a huge key to catching fish. I just use a drop shot nose hook. I'm out there. I key on the same patterns, guys. Water temp. You can even catch them a little colder water. This is the way to catch them if the water's cold, like that 54-degree mark. You can throw these things slow, and you'll get the better bites, guys. Instead of just drop shotting a small worm or leech style bait, stick with that swim bait, and they'll eat it. And it's one of those deals. It's more of a finesse approach. I'm throwing my swim baits and drop shots like this on like a 6-pound to 8-pound Seaguar Tohatsu fluorocarbon line. Stuff's amazing. It's a small diameter and really strong. So when you're out there, guys, and you got, say you're practicing out there for a week and the water temp's 58 and you're catching 20-pound bags on the S-Waiver, you're thinking, man, I cannot wait till this Saturday's Derby. Next thing you know, you're home that night, sit on the couch, turn on the old TV and watch the news, and all of a sudden it says, oh, well, we got a cold front moving in this week, starting Thursday. Morning lows are dropping. Things are getting, we got a front coming through. So that 20-pound bag is going to fall fast, guys. it's one of those things. If the weather pattern isn't stable, that swim bait bite gets real finicky. Whenever that pattern, whenever that cold front moves in, whenever those changes are made, don't go down with the ship. Don't be stubborn. If you can't get them to go on that big swim bait, pick up a smaller swim bait, slow it down a notch, give them a finesse presentation like you see here of either the drop shot or this is the one on the right here, guys, is that's a Eco Pro Tungsten Swing Shad and a 3.8. It's an awesome bait, guys. Real durable. I like to throw it on the Eco Pro Tungsten ball head. That's a that one right there is actually a 3/16-ounce tungsten head, ball head. Really small profile. I like to throw that out there, guys, especially in spotted bass lakes. You can catch some big spotted bass with that 3-inch swim bait. Just throwing it out there, letting it go to the bottom, and dragging it on those submerged humps and those longer tapering points and secondary points, guys, is a way to get bit. If you can't get those fish to go on that bigger swim bait, downsize, and don't let your day go to waste. You can put those fish in the boat, downsizing with the finesse rig. And like I said, guys, a lot of guys here are swim baits. You know, you got 10, 12-inch swim baits. I've caught some big bags on that 3-inch, 3-inch swing shad on a ball head. You'd be amazed. So I'm just trying to get you guys out there to catch more fish. And even if you want to start out with a small swim bait, something like this, it's a way to build confidence. Everything on the water is about your confidence. So with that being said, guys, go out there. You may already be a seasoned tournament angler, filing down some swim baits, doing some final touches. Hopefully I helped you with a little knowledge tonight on that. Or you could be just wanting to get into it. Get out there, get bit. That's what's going to take. Get your confidence in it and work your way up from a smaller swim bait to the larger swim baits is always a key. Because like I said, guys, if you don't have confidence in it, it's one of those deals. You get out there and kind of just don't really have it. You want to throw it, but you throw it a dozen times and then you put it down because your confidence isn't there. You got to get out and put it to work and catch a few fish, build some confidence in it. So with this water temp, with the locations, with the modifications, with the finesse swim baits, and with the bigger swim baits here, I really hope that I gained you some knowledge tonight on how to catch a few more fish. So here's another good little picture here for you guys with the line through swim bait. This is a good one I caught. It was a 1004 on the California Delta. And it was nice. Like I said, that's the top hook soft plastic swim bait that I throw out there in the grass, just taking across the toolies and across top of the grass. And it's one of those things, they can't resist that swim bait, guys. All right, guys, we're winding this thing down. I just want to say a special thanks to River to Sea for donating the S waivers that I'm going to give away to you guys tonight. Like I said, I greatly appreciate your time. Sorry for the inconvenience. And like I said, I'm going to give away, there'll be 2 lucky winners tonight. I'll give away another prize pack to another lucky winner for the inconvenience. And I want to say thank you, guys. Special thanks to River to Sea. Also, guys, I want to thank you all, like I said, for attending. If you have any questions, even want to chat fishing, anything, you can feel free to email me, thuckaby@navionics.com, and we can chat. If you have any other questions about the webinar, anything like that, feel free to shoot me a message. We can talk. All right, guys, I'm going to go over the questions and see what we got here. All right, guys, here we go. Victor Gomez, what about throwing the S waiver on braid? Well, something like that. If I'm going to throw the S waiver on braid, I want to make sure that with braid, there's a lot less give in the line, guys. And like I said, using treble hooks, I feel majority of the time I'll use the mono because it gives a little bit of stretch. So it's a little more forgiving than braid. I'm worried about putting a little too much pressure and ripping those hooks out. If you're comfortable and you have your setup tuned where you have a good rod taking the brunt of it, you have your drag set where it'll pull some drag, just definitely the braid doesn't give you much much leeway. It doesn't stretch, so it just puts the hook to the fish. And it's one of those things, if you apply too much pressure, could rip it out. But like I said, if your tension on your drag is set good and you have a good rod with a soft backbone, you can get away with it. But like I said, you wouldn't want to go out there and put braid on say a reel that's got the drag lock down, where you just want to horse the fish in. A lot of times those fish might end up coming off. Your hookup, your boating ratio of that fish is going to kind of linger a little bit. But if you got the ingredients right, good, a quick tip on the rod, parabolic bend, drag set right, some good hooks on that S-Waver, I would go ahead and try the braid, especially if I was in dingy water. I don't think I would throw it in the clear mother lode lakes, but that's kind of each person's kind of confidence on if the fish are line shy or not. But with a little stain to the water and the right ingredients, then I would throw. I'd get away with throwing the braid. But I would stick to, if I was on the mother lode lakes, any of the lakes that doesn't have as much grass structure to get tangled in, I'd be fishing the mono, in my opinion. Next one. Thanks, RJ. Gave me a thumbs up on the file tip. Like I said, guys, there's some guys that fish quite a bit. There's, a lot of tweaks, a lot of turns, we can do to them. And just want to help you guys out. That file tip has definitely helped me catch a few more fish. So just wanted to share it with you guys. Victor, okay. I use a Mojo glass rod. What's the difference in the Phoenix rod? Awesome. No, you got it good, Victor. On that Mojo glass rod, a glass rod's a lot more forgiving than, say, a graphite rod that I'm throwing. Now, on something like that, that's, glass rod's used for cranking. They got a good parabolic bend. Yes, I would believe if you're comfortable with the line shy version of it, the line shy side of everything, that Mojo glass rod, that's, a great rod for throwing an S-Waver, because it's got a good give to it, a good parabolic bend. It's a softer rod. So that I could see you getting away with using braid on. RJ, he asked for the name of the swim bait I'm throwing. An awesome swim bait, guys, that I'm throwing here is made from a company called Bully Baits. They're from Southern California. Their pour is awesome. They've got the plastic in it just right. Like I said, you can see in the picture with that tail move and everything. They've got their baits down to a T. It's that softer plastic, and it's definitely the way to go. Like I said, and that company's called Bully Baits. You can find them on Facebook, and guys over there are a good guy. So he can pour you all sorts of different colors. He's very good with the swim baits. But yeah, check him out, Bully Baits. Victor here, size of nail weights. I usually throw the 32nd ounce. I really don't get crazy. If I'm going to try to get it deep, I'll put like 3 32nd ounce. But if I'm in the Delta, I'll do like 2/16, or, if I want to keep the bait running level and flat, I'll do 2 1/16 ounce. But the 32nd ounce is usually the way I go. 2 32nd ounces usually get the bait to run in about 7 feet of water, 8 feet of water. And that's usually about the range I like to run it at. Because those fish, if they're spinning in 15, they'll come up, no problem, 7 8 feet. And then also, if you're fishing the California Delta in the grass, that's a huge key to catching some fish. Getting it down about the 5 feet mark on the edge of the grass lines. It's definitely a key to catching those fish. Getting that bait down there a little bit. Oh yeah, Randall from Texas. He said they're moving up to spawn here in Texas. Do they catch roaming bass, and what is the best swim bait use? Randall, it's awesome. That River to Sea S-Waver, you can get out there and go down a flat, say if they're stacking up on a certain bank, and say you've got them out here they kind of vary. You know, you'll get some of the fish that are spawning in 2 feet of water up shallow enough where you can easily sight see them. But a lot of our lakes fluctuate on the water levels, so they back out a little bit. And the better fish usually come in like 6 to 8 feet of water, and they're a little harder to see. That S waiver, always, it just has so much drawing power. It brings them up, and if they don't eat it, it gives you a spot to look for them. And sure enough, usually it's a great locator bait also, guys. So it will definitely catch the spawning fish. So, and if it doesn't catch them, at least it's going to show them to you. I know a lot of guys that say this is the best search bait they've ever had. They'll use all day in practice. They'll go out with it and just search for the bigger schools of fish because it's something about it. It's just got a great drawing power. They'll come up and show themselves, so you know they're in that area. RJ, how about braid to mono or fluoro? Yes, sir. That's if you're confident in it, as far as tying your braid to fluoro knot or braid to mono knot, absolutely. I'd use about a 3 foot, 4 foot leader, and tie from your braid to your mono or your fluoro. I would probably use the mono a little bit just to have a little stretch in there, but on something like that, absolutely, it's a good idea. It's kind of a sore subject with me a little bit. I did that in the FLW event on Clear Lake in October, and ended up snapping one off that would have put me way up in the listing instead of barely scratching out a top 10. I would have had one that definitely would have moved me up a couple good spots in my line tie came. So it was one of those things that I had to take that back to the drawing board. But if you have confidence in your knot, definitely, it's a great thing to do the braid to a mono or fluoro leader. Rick Raves, what about rainbow trout colors for the larger swim baits, and how well do they work? Man, it's a key. Like I said, Rick, it's key. A factor is matching the hatch. A lot of these fish around here, or our lakes, I'm not sure where you're from. I'm in California. They actually get planted with trout. So going that trout pattern is definitely a key to go. And a lot of these stalker trout are about 8 inches. So these bigger swim baits and a trout pattern around these areas, like the launch ramps that they'll dump them in at, and these coves that the marinas are in where they'll dump these trout, it's definitely a huge key to success. There's some guys out here throwing the bigger swim baits like a Huddleston in a trout pattern, and even having some of these the S waiver and a light trout, or even custom painted trout patterns, is a huge key to success. Huge key, like I said, here in California, especially if the lake you're fishing is planted with trout. Definitely a go-to do the trout pattern. Randall, got another one here. What color S waiver to mimic shad? One that I like now, they have, it's called a hitch pattern. It's actually like a clear with a little bit of a silver back. That is one of my go-to baits. It just seems to catch fish everywhere, because I mean, shad is like a main staple pretty much anywhere you go. So it's one of those deals, guys, that that shad pattern is a great, and I believe they call it like a light hitch, I want to say. It's a brand new color that they just brought out this year for 2018. And it's a killer color, guys. It catches fish. I've caught them on Malonis on it, Pedro, Lake McClure, even caught them down in Lake Havasu, Arizona at our first stop on it. One of those deals. Shad's everywhere. RJ asking about if I have videos on YouTube. I'm actually just getting into that. I do. It's under Travis Huckaby Fishing. Doing a lot of electronic stuff with the Humminbird electronics, Navionics. You're going to see a lot of stuff coming from me this coming year. So definitely take a shot, send me an email, and I'll get with you about locating some of my stuff on YouTube and some of the upcoming stuff. And I'll definitely have some videos coming. Rick, I'm in California too. Fish Lake Casitas. There you go, Rick. That's a big fish factory. I'd definitely be throwing that trout pattern S waiver around down in the Casitas area. RJ, is it true Fishing Game stops stocking trout in Malones and Pedro? I haven't heard of a fish stocking in Malones in the past year or so, but I believe they are still stocking at Pedro. But I'm not 110% sure per se with Malones, but I know they did stock Pedro. No, it was up there, I want to say in November. All right, guys. Question and answer up here. Roy, he asked, after you file the bait, how do you seal the finish? On that, Roy, I really don't mess with it. That's a hard plastic. And after I file it, I really don't do much to it. I'll just hit it with a little bit of light sandpapers, take the burr off, because when it's like an acrylic, it's hard. So you don't really have to seal that acrylic. It won't absorb or anything like absorb any of the water of the sort. So I really don't seal it. Never ever had an issue really with that. Randy, do you ever throw a weedless swim bait? Yeah, I do. I throw a weedless, like I said, like the 6.8 HUD, the smaller HUD, stuff like that, in a weedless version. I do throw them on the California Delta, and not really on as much in the lakes, to be honest with you, because it's one of those things. I like dragging on the offshore stuff and ledges and points. I really haven't messed with the weedless on the lakes, but in the California Delta, I do. Michael Moore, I really haven't messed with a split ring, to be honest with you, Michael. I actually did a few years back. I ended up laying into one that was pretty good, and he actually straightened the split ring out, and I lost him. And it was one of those deals that with the split ring, it didn't really seem to glide, and I didn't want to add the extra weight to the nose. Kind of sounds like it's, wouldn't be much weight, but it kind of hampered a little bit of the nose down movement. I like the kind of the nose to stay up a little bit whenever the S waiver is gliding. So I usually tie it directly to the S waiver. All right, guys, that's pretty much looks like all the questions answers. The questions here. Anybody have any other questions by chance? All right, looks like everyone's got their questions answered. Like I said, guys, here we go, one more coming in. No problem, RJ. Appreciate it. Randall, what size hooks to replace? I believe it's a size 2 that I put on those in the 2X on the S waiver. I don't upsize them. I keep them the same size. I just go to a 2X, a little bit of stronger hook. The stock hooks on it, I've had quite a few straighten out. So it's one of those deals that is just my own peace of mind. I go to the 2X strong in the size 2, and haven't had an issue since. No problem. Have a great evening, guys. Okay. We're going to call it good. Like I said, sorry about the inconvenience of the late start this evening, guys. It's one of those things. I don't know what was going on in the connection that locked me out. And it was one of those deals. Got to love technology sometimes, Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. I greatly appreciate you guys for exactly. It happens. But like I said, guys, greatly appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Like I said, feel free, thuckaby@navyarcs.com. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. We can chat. So greatly appreciate you guys all hanging out. Thanks again. Talk to you guys soon.